horror genre has changed so much, it has some of the most popular horror games of all time, like Resident Evil, Outlast, Poppy Playtime, and Fears to Fathom. But there is another horror game that has changed the way we see horror games. This game has created one of, if not the most popular horror game fandom, the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom. This fandom has been active since 2014, all the way to current day 2025. Well, nearly 2026, 2 months away as I'm recording this. FNAF has evolved so much throughout those 11 years. We went from sitting in an office to having a whole free roam throughout a whole mega pizzaplex mall type structure, if you even know what mega pizzaplex means, and I don't. I just know about the mall type structure. And all of that was because one person, one man who created one of the biggest horror game franchises of all time. That man's name is Scott Cawthon. Scott Cawthon is a video game developer. I think you know that, but I'm just gonna let you know anyways. His biggest game is obviously FNAF. Come on, Five Nights at Freddy's, come on, bro. That's the only reason you know about it. But what if I told you he made games way before FNAF? What if I told you because of this one game developed by Scott Cawthon, it became the only reason that FNAF was ever even thought of in the first place? This was the beginning of Five Nights at Freddy's. So there's this one person who's named Scott Cawthon. He wants to become a video game developer, so he makes a game like any normal inspired game developer. And this game is called Doofus. According to Google, yes, Google, because I don't know jack shit about the game. I don't know anything about that game. Anyways, back to stealing Google results from a script. I'm not ashamed of it, and you should be ashamed of it. Only I can do this. Yeah. Doofus, a Japanese arcade-style shoot-'em-up he made as a child and released in 1994. While not considered his official first game, it was his earliest known attempt at a complete video game, made using Click and Play, now known as Click Team Fusion, since they changed the name. It's more recognizable. Now, as you can tell by now, Scott really wants to be a successful game developer. Actually, I think he's made some Christian animations or movies either before or after, so I think he did that. So I think he's made more Doofus sequels, up to Doofus 3. I believe there was a Doofus 2. And after that was a series of more games made by him. The titles of these games are The Desolate Room 2007, a survival role-playing game, and one of his earliest publicly released titles. It features a robot named Coffee who becomes more self-aware after his owner dies. That is very dark. Life Moon 2008, a fantasy role-playing adventure game. That's it? Okay. The Pilgrim's Progress, the video game, 2011. An adaptation of the Christian allegory published by Hope Animation. The Desolate Hope, 2012. A spiritual successor to The Desolate Room and another survival RPG. There is no pause button, 2013. A famously difficult platformer. And finally, the game title I am more excited for. And if you're a diehard FNAF fan, then you all know what it is. You all know what I'm about to say next, right? Because you want to know what it is? That's right, it is the one, but not only. We'll get to that later. Chipper and Sons Lumber Co. 2013. So if you don't know, let me explain why this one in particular is important. So Scott made this game with the intended purpose of making a game for kids. And the game is pretty cool altogether. I think I've seen people play this game, or I'm confusing it with the other one. You'll see what I'm talking about later. This game's premise is basically a lumber company owned by Chipper, the beaver. And Tyke, the son, has to do objectives like chopping down trees, creating lumber bots while you're out adventuring, and doing favors for creatures of the forest all around the town so Chipper can do lumber work. It's either that or child labor here. Oh my gosh, Scott, no wonder why this game was so horrible. I mean, good. We love child labor. No, we don't. No. Enough with the child labor. So with the way I explained it, that sounds fun, right? Well, if you said yes, then you would be wrong. It's actually the opposite. You see, people didn't like this game because of the creepy designs and the game controls were bugged. Here, let me show you what I mean. Negative reviews for Chipper and Sons and Lumberco focused on this game's creepy character designs, which many found unsettling rather than cute, leading to comparisons with horror animatronics. Criticism also included awkward controls, repetitive gameplay, and the perception of it being a boring waiting sim or a poorly executed children's game. So I think it's safe to say this game was a fail. Scott had received those negative reviews and just nearly gave up. But there was one review by Jim Sterling. This one review said that they looked terrifying and creepy. So, terrifying. Take that into account. So Scott's light bulb lit up, and with his last shot at being a video game developer, he developed a game that forever changed the horror genre. Especially the games of the horror genre. So this game is Five Nights at Freddy's. So that's what FNAF stands for. Five Nights at Freddy's. FNAF came out in 2014, and in the game, you sit in an office and have cameras to check where the animatronics are at. You also have doors on both sides to close if an animatronic appears at any doorways. A night shift at Freddy's Pizzeria, basically. Isn't that a fan game title? Oh well, anyways, this game came to be one of the most popular horror game franchises of all time, with sequels like FNAF 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, UCN. You can't say that 6 other number joke. It still haunts me. FNAF Help Wanted, Security Breach, FNAF Help Wanted 2, and Secret of the Mimic. But a huge helping factor for this franchise's success was the lore. And one of the only reasons we know the lore is MatPat, aka Game Theory. If you don't know, Game Theory is a channel that popularized FNAF, and it became a staple of the channel. There's also other theory channels like Film, Food, and Style Theory, but more on Game Theory later. So overall, FNAF was a success, so much of a success that people started making what I like to call FNAF Fan Games. These fan games include Five Nights at Sonic's, Those Nights at Freddy's, FNAF Plus, and Night Shift at Freddy's, and another game. You wanna take a guess on what it is? Well, this game is called, you guessed it, Tyke and Sons Lumberco. You see how I confused it with the other game? Now let's talk about this fan game. First, the gameplay. Players take on the role of Mike, Tyke's son. Of course it's Mike Schmidt. Players take on the role of Mike, Tyke's son, who must fulfill animal requests by planting trees and crafting items. During the day, players train for the company takeover, while at night, they must defend the house from hostile robots using FNAF-style survival horror gameplay. Now, the antagonists. Chippomat 2.0 is the main antagonist, appearing every night except night 5. Chippomat 3.0 is a silver, shiny metal version with a wider jaw and red pupilled eyes. So as you can tell, this robot is Ultron, but on a different level. He wants to scrap so bad. He really said, do you want that smoke? So in this fan sequel, Chipper goes on a work trip or something and just goes missing. Years later, Tyke has a kid and he does objectives all around the town. He also builds lumber bots, but this time the lumber bots try to kill you at night. Yeah, that kid's cooked. I can't save it. There's also a whole animatronic in your bedroom, on your bed. Yeah, I'm not sleeping with that guy in my bedroom. I don't know. I know why. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not getting cooked. If you want to learn more about this game, then just look up Tyke and Sons Lumberco. After this video, of course, please, I need that watch time of yours. I want this community to grow, so please stay. Now let's talk about the irony of this game. You see how this whole franchise came full circle? What started out as a silly exploration kids game that looked creepy, which inspired Five Nights at Freddy's, then inspired millions of people to make FNAF fan games based on FNAF, and then someone made a FNAF fan game based on the game. That was a bit creepy. And it's a silly exploration kids game, which is called Chipper and Sons Lumberco. Now this franchise has 2 movies, and the second movie is coming in December. And I'm excited for it. Now remember Game Theory? Well, 1 year ago, MatPat announced that he was going to retire so he could spend more time with his family, and his theory friends took over his channel. Honestly valid. If I was theorizing for 11 years straight, I would want to spend more time with my family too. He had a goodbye video for each channel, and they were all heartfelt. But on this Game Theory channel, his main channel, he did something unexpected. You want to know what it is? Well, he went to drive to somebody else's house, knocked on the door, and guess who showed up at the door? When the door opened, MatPat saw someone who was none other than Scott Cawthon himself. Scott invites him into his house, and the video ends. While Scott didn't fully retire, MatPat and him are both retired. They're on the same page now. After years of trolling each other, or Scott trolling MatPat with the lore and with troll games, that's so cool. So after all that, what's a lesson we learned? The moral of the story is that no matter what negative things people tell you, don't give up. Keep going, and sometimes you can use those negative comments to your advantage. Whether that means making a game based off those comments or just improving in whatever you do. And I just want to say thank you, MatPat, for covering all the lore. Thank you, Scott Cawthon, for even developing games. And finally, thank you, Chipper and Tyke, for existing and being the inspiration for the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. This FNAF franchise has changed the horror genre so much, but how? Well. This is actually part 1 in the series I would like to call FNAF, Retrospective of History, or FRO. Basically in the series, we're going to be going over the history of FNAF and its impact on the horror genre. This is going to be a 3-part series, for right now at least. Anyways, thank you for watching. Subscribe, like this video. This has been FNAF Retrospective of History Episode 1, and I'll see you guys next time.